here in Europe, uh, they're celebrating a holiday a couple days ago called King's. No, no. What is it called? What is it called? It's in some Christian countries. It's called Epiphany or the beginning of Epiphany. Um, and and in other days, I mean other countries, they call it something else. Hang on a second. Uh, I wanted to make some comments on that. Um, because I've had several people from France telling me that they're eating the king cake. Of course, in French, it's a different word. But I always wondered. I mean, I was wondering what the heck is that? And it's associated with the festival of Epiphany, which is at the end of Christmas season. I have no idea what the heck that is. Some countries call it Theophany or Three Kings Day. This is supposed to be. Mm, I think this is supposed to talk about when the three kings came to visit uh, baby Jesus soon after he was born. So this is his manifestation to the Gentiles, people who are not Jewish. Um, and it's for some Christians, it commemorates the baptism of Jesus. Um, um, the traditional date for this feast is the 6th of January, 2 days ago, and um, it's yeah, this is something they do, and let's see here. Um, in many Western Christian churches, this is called also celebrated as the 12th night. Yeah, the 12th night. So what is that? 12 days after Christmas or something like that? Is it? Uh, is that how that song 12 Days of Christmas? Is that where that comes from? I wonder. I don't know. Anyway, um, what is that also? It's popular Epiphany customs include Epiphany singing, chalking the door, having one's house blessed, and consuming the Three Kings cake, winter swimming, as well as attending church services. And it is customary for many Christians in many localities to remove their Christmas decorations on Epiphany Eve. So that's what, January 5th? Um, but other Christian countries to take down their Christmas decorations on Candlemas, which is another related holiday. I think that one happens on the 2nd of February, which is the conclusion of this Epiphany tide. And those who fail to remove their Christmas decorations must leave them untouched until Candlemas. Okay, it's a second opportunity to remove them. And failure to observe this custom is considered inauspicious. Ooh, a big word. There's a 10 foot long word there. I gotta look up in my dictionary what the heck does inauspicious mean. Not conducive to success, unpromising. It was an inauspicious beginning to the long and complex entanglement between her and I. Okay, and I learned a new word. Hey, inauspicious, not conducive to success, unpromising. That's my life. It's inauspicious. Hang on a second. Oh man, I still have a tiny remnant of the cold that I caught. Geez, almost 2 weeks ago. And oh gosh, so when I start laughing, I end up in coughing fit. Yeah, so I have to mute the mic. Inauspicious. Ah, that's a rugged word. Yeah. Oh shoot. Let's see here. Um, let's see. Oh man, it makes me laugh for some reason. Yeah. I know some people who who are kind of inauspicious. Shit, that's funny. I'm sorry. I don't mean to make fun of anybody or anything. I just find that kind of funny. Yeah, in inauspicious. Yeah, we walked into the restaurant and sat down, and she uh had a booger hanging out of her nose, and didn't care to remove it. Therefore, I began to feel that this evening would be inauspicious. Oh shit! I'm just getting a kick out of this word, inauspicious. Oh shucks, that's funny. Yeah, I never heard of this tradition before. Yeah, and until knowing these some certain French people, I'm not going to embarrass anybody. They do listen to this show. I'm not going to say which one it is. Concerning this cake, yeah, this king's cake, and it's an interesting custom. And I know there's people in certain parts of America that do observe this, but I have never heard of this before. Yeah, growing up on the reservation in Cheyenne River Sioux Reservation in South Dakota, I never heard of this before. A king's cake, for those of you that don't know, it's associated with the end of Christmas season. In some places and other places, it's associated with pre-Lenten celebrations of Mardi Gras, Carnival. It started out about 300 years ago. Yeah, this cake, and it's a dry French bread type of dough with sugar on top and a bean inside. Um, and sometimes there's strawberries and chocolate and different kind of fruits, apples, on the inside of the cake. But in the center of the cake is like that could be a small figurine. Or some people it might be um, like a small plastic baby to represent the baby Jesus, and that the person who gets the piece of cake with this trinket or this baby Jesus has certain privileges and obligations. Yeah, and it is kind of it's an interesting custom. Yeah, and let's see here. Um, Trying to look at this really quickly. I know it looks like in New Orleans they really do this, yeah. And all those that cake looks just gaudy. Louisiana style king cake. Ugh, that looks just gaudy. It's just horrible. It looks just awful. Yeah, the one that the one they do in New Orleans. Eee. And there's a plastic baby in the center. Ugh, 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 ugh. Not my kind of thing. Ugh, not my kind of thing. Absolutely not. Anyway, what do they call this? Galet de Ross? Galet de Ross? I think that's how they say it in French. I'm not too sure. Um, But yeah, this is an interesting custom. Yeah, that the when you get the like I said, the cake looks different in different areas. In France, it looks delicious. I mean, I see a picture of a French king's cake, and wow, that really looks good. The New Orleans one looks like it was like a wink dad nightmare. Yeah. It's just horrible. The New Orleans one, I mean, the New Orleans one. Let me say that again. The king's cake that they make in New Orleans, Louisiana. Oh, that looks just horrible. It's just gaudy, yeah, just kitschy looking. But this one, the French one, looks really nice. Oh, there's different kinds. Yeah, the northern style. Ooh, gee, that looks yummy. Ooh, I could go for that. And then there's a southern style king's cake, and oh, that's really interesting too. Ah, uh huh. So when you get the this trinket or something in the, that's if you're fortunate to get the whatever that's inside the cake, if you're a woman, you're the queen. Yeah, you're the queen. And if you're a guy, you're the king, and you get special privileges. Oh gosh, I think that's funny. Yeah, that's really an interesting custom. Yeah, the king's cake. I have two really good Spanish friends. One I am in contact with, and one I'm really not in contact with anymore. But they were. This is Esther and Marta, and they were both telling me about this King's Day or Three Kings Day. That in Spain, this is bigger than Christmas. Um, they children receive gifts. Yeah, I think on Eve, so January 5th, I think they get to open presents. So it's and both ladies said that it's bigger. It's bigger than Christmas in Spain, and yeah, it's really interesting. And I remember Esther was telling me about how the men are supposed to wear red boxer shorts and eat two grapes. That's an interesting custom, yeah. I think it was the same day, the King's Day. I think it was. So maybe I'm wrong, but um, I think it was, yeah. And they have interesting countries have interesting customs. Yeah, I never knew these things because I grew up on the res. Yeah, so and our reservation is not a Catholic reservation. Cheyenne River, like Standing Rock, is mostly Episcopal. It's Pine Ridge and Rosebud are really largely Catholic because in the beginning of the reservation days, only one church denomination was allowed to enter the reservation. So this is why. Yeah, so this is why some reservations are predominantly more into one religion than the other. I'm going to say some things about that a little bit later, okay? Um, but anyway, so I never heard of this king's cake until I came to Europe. Even in Germany, I never heard of it. They do celebrate it. They do it though in Germany, but Berlin is not Catholic. Yeah, Berlin is mostly Protestant. But the south and western parts of Germany are Catholic. In those areas, they do have this king's cake. That's why I never heard of it. Yeah, I never heard of it until speaking to somebody from France, and they were saying, yeah, they bought a king's cake, and of course they said it in French, but and they said that yeah, they're going to eat it on a certain day, and so I was like, what the heck is king's cake? Yeah, so it's interesting. Yeah, these customs. I know they're Christian, but still, a lot of people like to do these things, even though they're not Christian. They just they take the Christian aspect out, and they have the cake, and it's a time for family to get together, yeah, have a good time, and like Cherie from France that I talk about on this show. She was sending me photos of their family get together and the king's cake and things like that. It's really nice, yeah. It's really interesting. It's like Christmas part two, yeah. And in some countries like Spain, it's bigger than Christmas. Yeah, it's bigger than Christmas. That's really interesting. Yeah, wearing red boxer shorts and eating two grapes, huh? Oh man, it's cool customs. Very, very cool customs. Yeah, so Belgium, France, Quebec, and Switzerland. This is a popular food item. Yeah, Latin America has it. Greece, Cyprus, Bulgaria. In the United States, Carnival is traditionally observed in the southeastern region, particularly in New Orleans, Bay St. Louis, Mobile, Pensacola, and Galveston, and other towns and cities of the Mississippi Gulf Coast. In this region, the king cake is closely associated with Mardi Gras traditions and is served throughout the carnival season, which lasts from Epiphany Eve to Fat Tuesday. What the heck is Fat Tuesday? I think I talked about this before with Mardi Gras, or it's called Shrove Tuesday. It's beginning on or after the Christian feast of Epiphany, Three Kings Day, culminating on the day before Ash Wednesday. I guess this is the period where they raise hell and just do a sin like crazy, yeah, because after that is the ritual fasting of Lenten season or something like that. See, it's a crazy traditions. Just get wild and crazy, and I mean really bad wild and crazy. It's not a good wild and crazy. It's oh my, that's very dualistic. Yeah, it's very yeah. Let's just sin like crazy because after that we're gonna be holier than thou. That's kind of weird to me. Yeah. Um, I'm not associated with those kind of customs. Yeah, it's not my world. I did not grow up like that, so I when I hear customs like that, it's kind of nuts. Yeah, in the Lakota world, we don't have customs like that. We don't have these, get wild and crazy and just do all kinds of carnal acts and just live in total sin. And we don't have anything like that because our foundation is based on peace and living in harmony with Unchi Grandmother Earth. And so for us, it's about um, nurturing everything inside of us, yeah, physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, and living like this every day, so that we can nurture everything around us, because everything is connected. Yeah, everything inside of us is connected, just like we are connected to each other and everything around us. So to live in such a way to nurture all these connections inside of you and around you, this is our purpose of life. And this includes things like learning from difficulties, helping others as they go through their difficulties, enjoying our blessings, celebrating with those who are also having blessings, and being emotional and spiritual supports to one another. This is our way of life, yeah? And so we don't do this living in sin for 40 days and then and then and then totally sober the next 40 days, and then okay, now that's the Lenten season is over. Now we begin our wonderful year. See, that's that kind of philosophy does not register with the native way, because the native way is about always living in peace, nurturing peace inside of you so that you can nurture peace around you. This is our way. It's an everyday thing. We don't have, the once a week going to some kind of church service or ceremony or whatever. We don't have that. For us, it's an everyday thing. So we don't have these strange customs of, oh, this is the time where we can totally live in sin, yeah, where we can fuck anything that moves and take any drugs that we want to, and just get totally drunk every day, every night, and just, like I said, hump anything with a pulse, yeah, and then after that, we throw that off, and it's like we're cleansing ourselves, like living in sin in this period, and is like, okay, we're getting rid of all of these tendencies and stuff like that during this time, and then after this, we have this Lent thing, and or whatever it's called, and then we give something up, yeah, we for during this time, and then we just try to do our best to live extra specially good during this time period, so that everything is good after that. See, to me, that is dualistic, because it's during the time that you can sin and whatever, you could, for one thing, you could get a sexually transmitted disease. You could get raped, yeah, um, molested. You could get killed because maybe you're too drunk and you're driving and decide to run into a building or something. Um, so to me, this this way of thinking of, okay, this time period is a time to just totally sin and just do everything corrupt and carnal to get it out of our system. Yeah, to me, this is sick. Yeah, from the native perspective, this is really um, it doesn't make sense, because you're saying that, okay, for this time period, that's the time period where I'm going to totally out and out sin, and then the rest of the year I'm going to be good. That, to me, is foolish, because life is not that way. Yeah, the universe is not that way. For us, it's for us native people, it is an everyday thing to strive to live in peace, to learn from difficulty, to enjoy blessing, because in this way we learn to live to love, and this is the everyday thing. So it's not about, okay, let's get all these tendencies out of ourselves and our minds by living in sin for whatever. For us, this is unhealthy, because it's forcing the self to do things in an unnatural way. That we were not designed like that. Yeah. So that's these strange customs around this time of the year, with Carnival and Mardi Gras and things like that. This is really sick from the native perspective. This is not our way. Yeah. And for us, when we want to cleanse ourselves, we don't go out and live in sin to get it out of our system. No, no, no. We go through sweat lodge ceremony, and in there we release whatever it is. the emotion or the thought or whatever. We go in there with people we trust and we release this by saying it or crying or whatever. We release that so the energy comes out of our bodies. And then after that, we talk to begin the healing process. That's the way it is for us. Because without that, we cannot be efficient mothers, fathers, teachers, providers, yeah, doctors, whatever. We cannot do that effectively if we cannot release it. So we have to release it in a healthy way, and this is where inipi comes into play. Okay, and for women, this is part of the menstruation process. For in the many native cultures, menstruation is a very sacred time for women. Yeah, the Western world sees it as, oh, that's dirty time. Yeah, don't touch the woman. But then I can tell you the Lakota way because I'm Lakota and that's what I know. In the Lakota way, when a woman is menstruating, this is a holy time. It's a time of cleansing. And it's during this time period that all these things are flushed. Yeah, I mean they're all taken out of the system, and it's a very sacred process because it is a process of rejuvenation, of creation or recreation, and that's sacred. So in our way, this is a very sacred thing. Yeah. So that for the women, this is how they do that. Now, I'm a man, so you're probably saying, well, how dare you say that? Well, I'm only relaying what my teachers have taught me. And a lot of my teachers were holy women. Yeah, a lot of my teachers were holy women. And these are the things they've taught me. So that it's them who's saying it through me. It's not me saying it, okay? So that's how I know, okay? So anyway, this for Lakota people, this concept of living in sin for so many days and totally raising hell, and then being holier than thou by giving up one thing during Lent, and then and all this kind of stuff. For us, this doesn't make sense because for us it's an everyday occurrence, and it's not about you know doing really carnal things, yeah, to get it out. No, no, no. That's like saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go out and rape a lot of women so I can get this sexual urges out of my mind." See, that is stupid. And another thing, it's hurting some women. Yeah, and it's also you're messing yourself up too. Yeah, nothing benefits from living like that. To forcing yourself to live in sin for 30, 40 days. Yeah, that doing that doesn't release anything. No, it does not at all. Everything you do and how you do it, and everything you say and how you say it, this is all communication. And if you're forcing yourself to do this living in sin nonsense, you're communicating in an unhealthy way. And that's going to come back to you and kick you in the ass because it's going to come back 4 times as strong. So you're forcing yourself to communicate in an unhealthy way. You're really forcing yourself to make your life even more difficult because this 40 days of living in total righteousness that follows that's not going to fix it. That's natural law. In Lakota, we call that wawokie. Yeah? So that's why I find this custom incredibly strange. Yeah, that this has to be a man-made idea, and it's benefiting the man more than the woman. Yeah. So this to me is it's strange. It's ridiculous. It's totally unhealthy because you're willingly and knowingly communicating in a very unhealthy way. And that doesn't make sense to me. Yeah? That doesn't make sense to me. That's like, oh, I'm going to go do something bad so I can learn from it. Life does not work like that. I'm going to go do something bad and then afterwards I'm sorry and then be good after that. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm gonna go walk down the street and beat up the first person I see, and then 40 days later I'll find him again and say, "Okay, I'm sorry I did that to you." What kind of thinking is that? That's that is nonsense to me. Yeah. So this whole idea of carnival and Mardi Gras, to me, this is ridiculous. Yeah, that is just stupid. So, but like I said, I'm coming from a Lakota world, and we don't have anything like that because it's unhealthy. Yeah, it's totally unhealthy. So, um, something like that would really uh, destroy our society because when you do things like this, you don't forget. Yeah, and then you don't trust people anymore because you know what they're capable of doing. And a society that has that kind of activity is an unhealthy society. And just look at all the Catholic countries, and you tell me, are these healthy societies? No, they're not. They're probably some of the most corrupt countries in the world. Look in South America. This, you wouldn't believe how corrupt a lot of these countries are down there. My Spanish friend Marta, she lived in various South American countries, and what she told me just blew me away. I was like, wow, it's amazing that people can even live like that. But where else are they going to go? Remember, just a few months ago, in what is it, Venezuela? Is it Venezuela where they ran out of food, basically, because of there's corruption in the government, incredible corruption. And they wanted to. Is it Venezuela or a different country? I know Venezuela is involved, where they had to go to other countries to buy food, and their economy is so bad that the value of their money is inflated in their country, so they have to go into another country where it has a better value, so they can buy food, and that's because of the government. Yeah, it's these kind of countries are very dualistic. You heard me use that word several times now, and you're probably wondering what the heck does that word mean. I'll explain that in a few minutes, okay? But let me kind of finish here what I'm saying right now. So these customs, they are totally unhealthy because they are forcefully and willingly done. Yeah, they are the acts are done willingly and forcefully, and these are unhealthy communications. Yeah, to forcefully and willingly do this. So that's that's how it is. Yeah, and Hang on a second. I gotta send a small message. Okay. So so this is a very crazy thing from the Lakota perspective. Yeah, this all these things, these crazy traditions. Um, but I do like the this king's cake idea. Yeah, I do think that's a nice one. Um, and I know somebody who is totally not Christian at all. Yeah, she just hates Christianity, but she does this king's cake. But she doesn't know what that means. Yeah, the she doesn't know where that came from. She doesn't know the history of the king's cake. She doesn't know the what do you call it? The you know uh the idea behind it. But she likes the idea of finding the prize and being the queen for the day or the year or whatever. So she goes out and buys her own king's cake, or and then she just eats the whole thing by herself so she can be the queen. She, it's funny. Hang on a sec. Okay, sorry, I had to clear my throat there. Anyway, yeah, so I learned about this and I was like, gee, this is an interesting thing, and then I see what all is involved in this and other activities and starting to think, oh, okay, that's interesting, but I don't agree with it. I mean, the king's cake. I think is an interest. It's a nice concept, and the King's Day. I think where in Spain where it is bigger than Christmas, and the kids, this is the day they wait for. Yeah, like my I still call her my friend even though I'm not in contact with her anymore. Marta, because Marta translated my Lakota language book into Spanish, and I will forever be grateful to her for that. She will always have a special place in my heart because she did so many things for me, personally and professionally. Yeah, one of the best women I ever knew in my life. But because of the Spanish economy, she had to go someplace else to find a job because she has a little family, and she speaks English really good. So, and she's lived in London before. So she decided to return to London and try to make a life there. And after that, I lost contact. Yeah, so I have no idea. Um, I don't think anything bad happened to her because if something bad had happened, her sister would have contacted me about that. I know that. Um, but I think she's just making a new life, yes, and good for her. I'm happy for her. But while I knew her, she told me lots of things about Spanish uh, things, yeah, and she was telling me that she has two little boys, and she said in their part of the country, when Christmas comes, it's like, yeah, okay, and the children, they might get it one toy or two, yeah, and it's just so. Yeah, it's just like, okay, this is Christmas, have a nice meal, get one present or whatever, and then it's over, because the children are waiting for January 5. Yeah, Christmas is not the main gift giving day in Spain. It's January 5th for the children. I mean, yeah. So when it's the eve of this King's Day, which is January 5, um, it's really huge in Spain for the children, and because that's the evening where they really get presents. Yeah, this is bigger than Christmas. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, that's interesting how things are. And so that's the first time I heard about this kings, this Three Kings Day. And towns have these little uh, amusement things set up, carnivals and stuff like that. I don't. I have to describe this word. I have to define this word because in America it means one thing, and in the rest of the world it means something else. Okay, in 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 let me start with America first. In America, a carnival is something that can happen any time of the year, and it's like a traveling amusement park. Yeah, like a small, like there's rides, like roller coasters and tilt a whirl and the octopus and all the merry-go-rounds, things like that. Different kinds of just rides, amusement. That's like amusement park rides, and it's something that travels from celebration to celebration. Yeah, communities will hire one for their celebration, even powwows. Yeah, even in the native world, powwows they hire these kind of things too. They're called carnivals, and so it's a place for kids to go and have fun. Um, there so the powwows have carnivals and they also have rodeos and powwows have all kinds of things, all kinds of activities. Yeah. So that's a carnival, okay? But in the rest of the world, carnival is this thing I was talking about. Yeah, this that happens after uh, what do you call that? What did I say? Shrove Tuesday or Fat Tuesday or whatever. This is the day of this is the period of debauchery. Yeah, to just totally live in sin. What I was just discussing. Yeah, um, that's carnival. Yeah, and so it's two different things. So when I say carnival, I'm talking about these traveling amusement parks in America. Okay, because I didn't grow up in a Catholic place, so I did not become familiar with Carnival, that the rest of the world knows until I left the reservation. Yeah, and and stuff like that. So it is two different definitions. Okay, I need to make that known right away because I got a lot of native listeners in the show, and they know what carnival is, but they don't know carnival. Yeah, and people in Europe they know what carnival is, but they don't know what an American carnival is. So that's why I'm explaining the difference. Okay, so anywho, um, so this debauchery carnival, where they have parades all the time, and in Brazil and Rio and Sao Paulo, they have these huge um, samba parades where they all dress in glittery, sexually provocative clothes and elaborate costumes, and they all have they have like a contest. Yeah, they go down the street and see which one is the best one and stuff like that. But it's very sexual in nature. Yeah, here in Germany, in the West, when they have carnival, um, it's 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 similar. Yeah, uh, but it's a time where they lash out against the government. Yeah, where they say mean things about what they're dissatisfied with concerning the government or what's happening in the country, and sometimes it can get racist. Yeah, like in Germany, there's a problem with. There's always been a problem with integrating Muslim people. Yeah, they when they come to Germany, they'll learn the language to a degree, but they don't want to integrate into the country. and so it provides a lot of problems, or it creates a lot of problems. So during this carnival season, people will talk about that, and they'll it's a time where you can say something racist and get away with it, as long as you kind of oh, sorry about that. I had a coughing fit there, so I had to mute the microphone. Okay. Yeah, as I was saying, in Germany, this carnival season is a time where you can really say things mean about what you don't like in this country. Like, so lately, it's probably against all the immigrants, the migrants that have come from Syria and Afghanistan. There's probably a lot of talk about that, as well as the Muslims from Turkey, yeah, and other North African countries. Um, and sometimes it gets dangerously radical. Um, yeah, and you see people in these parades. They make mock figures of like Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, or other political leaders around the world. They'll make mock figures of them, and they'll have them doing really obscene things in these parades. It's a way of expressing their frustration with the governments, yeah, and what they don't like about it. And to me, that's very dangerous because it's still unhealthy communication. Yeah, that's like what I was saying about Mardi Gras, where people just fuck anything that has a pulse. Yeah, so it is unhealthy. To me, this is really unhealthy thinking, and it is like I said in the Lakota natural law of Wawokia, whatever you send out returns to you four times as strong. So if you're willingly and knowingly communicating in an unhealthy way, you're not cleansing yourself. No, you're setting yourself up to mess up because the energy you're sending is unhealthy, and that's going to come back to you four times as strong. So it's coming back unhealthier. Yeah. So that's why, from the Lakota perspective, this whole idea of carnival and Mardi Gras and in Germany fasting, um, this is all ridiculous. It's making life more difficult than it needs to be. I don't see any psychological value to this whatsoever. Yeah? That's like saying, okay, I'm gonna go beat somebody up, and then 30 days later I'm gonna tell him I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. Yeah? That doesn't even make sense. That's not cleansing. Yeah? So, like I said, in our way, we don't have these kind of holidays because these kind of holidays would destroy our society, and sadly, that's starting to happen because today most Native people are either Christian or they're Christian influenced. As long as you believe in good versus evil, you're setting yourself up to fail. Because the ancient way, the ancient Lakota way, does not have good versus evil. Yeah? So I'm going to explain that. Anyway, also these next coming days, this is the time of the year in Lakota tradition where you tell Iktomi stories. Okay, so that's what I'm doing right now too. So if we have time, I'll tell an Iktomi story. I did this last month, but I'm gonna do it again. Yeah, because it's colder than hell, and this is the time. Yeah, this is the time to be telling these stories. Now, even again, I have to say this one more time. I said this yesterday. I'm gonna say it again today. This idea that Iktomi stories are only supposed to be told when the spiders go under the ground. Yeah, and you have to stop telling the stories before they come back up when the ground gets warm again. This is to show respect to Iktomi. Iktomi is also the word for spider. Okay? Now, most Lakota people don't know this. They don't know this custom. So, as a result, they tell Iktomi stories all year round. And they're breaking a very ancient rule. And so you may ask, well, why are they doing that? It's because today most natives are Christian or they're Christian influenced. See, something happened all over North America, um, beginning with reservations, yeah, in which we were denied healthy food. Our language and ceremonies were declared illegal, so we were hit physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And this was connected to the mind, the mental part. So we became mentally weak. So when the churches came, we were in the perfect condition to be brainwashed. So in the Lakota way, our ancestors believed in everything having at least three components: this, that, and the other. Yeah, and sometimes there's more than three, but there's always going to be at least three. And it's not about which one is better, okay? It's about what can I learn from this, or maybe it can learn from me, or maybe I can adjust something and transform it into something that does work and is healthy, or I just let it go. But it's not about which one is good, okay? It's never like that. So there's always going to be at least three components. That's the ancient way. The Western way only has two: this and that. And that creates a tendency to say, well, I like this, so that means this is good. This, and they see everything as only having two components, and eventually this creates the idea of good versus evil. See, that's man-made. That's not that's not natural. So that's why I said, if you believe in good versus evil, only focusing on one emotion, if you believe that positive is good and negative is bad, you're setting yourself up to fail, because positive is not good. It's not bad either. And the same thing for negative. In the universe, we have negative and positive that work together, and then we have neutrality. And then we have negative particles that act in a positive way. And we have positive particles that act in a negative way. And then we have what is surrounding all of this. This is the foundation of the universe. If you take away one of these components, the universe implodes. So to say negative is bad, you're going against the universe. If you say only focus on positive thoughts, you're going against the universe. In the Lakota way, it's healthy and unhealthy. And this is not good and bad. Because from unhealthiness, you can still learn. Yeah? You can still learn from that experience. As long as you're alive, you have the opportunity to learn from it. And anytime you learn something, this is good. This is life. And you know what love is. This is how we live. That's the ancient way. So to see things with only two perspectives of this and that, you're violating the laws of nature, of the universe. And only believing in this and that creates good versus evil. This is why good versus evil does not exist in ancient Lakota concepts. So at the beginning of the reservation, like I said, first of all, I should say the self has four parts: the physical body, the mind, the emotional self, and the soul. They're all connected. If one part goes down, they all go down. If you focus only on one part, the whole part is going to go down again anyway because you're neglecting the others. All four parts are equally important. Okay? So, the beginning of the reservation, our again, I'm gonna say it. Yeah, our ceremonies where our spirituality was made illegal, our language was made illegal, and our reservations were like concentration camps. We couldn't leave. Hitler got his idea for his concentration camps from the reservation. Yeah, America taught Hitler about concentration camps in how America set up reservations. This is a true fact. So when you get mad at Hitler and his Nazi concentration camps, well, guess what? That's actually an American idea. Yeah, that's how America was towards Native people by the creation of reservations. This is how it was back then in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Yeah, so we couldn't leave at that time. We couldn't leave to go hunting. We were not allowed to have weapons or anything sharp. Oh, the only food that we could eat was whatever the government gave to us, which was really unhealthy food. So this means we were hit emotionally, spiritually, and physically. That leaves one part left, the mind. So since we were attacked in three of the four parts of the self, we easily became weak minded. Then the Christian priests came with their good versus evil teaching. And they said that our way conflicts with the Bible, so that means our way is bad, is evil, comes from Satan. And in our weakened minds, we began to believe them. And another thing, in the early days of the reservation was cut up into small parcels of land and families were moved into each parcel. So this now separated the community way of living. So we couldn't see each other all the time anymore. So going to church once a week was an opportunity for all the relatives to see each other. So they looked forward to going to church so they could see each other. And in their weakened states and their broken spirits, they started to accept what these preachers were saying. So we lost this idea that reality has at least three components. And we started to accept the new idea of just this and that. Now we started to believe in good versus evil. Then another experience came uh, with the boarding school of taking children hundreds of miles away from their families and torturing them to speak only English and to forget about their culture. Those who lived through that, because a lot of children died through that, but those who lived, they got post-traumatic stress disorder. And they never healed from it. They couldn't talk about it because it was so painful. Some of them are still alive, and they still cannot talk about it because it's so traumatic. Well, that affects the way they are as parents. It's not good. So here we are, 7, 8 generations later, and this is the reason why most native people cannot speak their language, and they do not really know the ancient way. And when they try to learn their tribal customs, they're looking at it through this perspective of just this and that. So they're not looking at it through the ancient way. They're looking at it through the modern way, the dualistic way. See, when you only believe in two things and it turns out to be good versus evil, see, this is duality. That's why I said today most Indians are dualistic. Even if they don't go to church, even if they don't believe in Christianity, they still see things dualistically. So they go to the ceremonies and they'll say, yeah, we're coming here to cleanse the the evil energy from my body or whatever. See, that's dualistic. That's not the ancient way. The ancient mindset, you say, I'm burning this sage to neutralize this area so that I can also neutralize me, so that I can have a clear mind and pray for blessings upon all of the universe. See, in this way, there's no good versus evil. You see the difference? Yeah? Today, most native people look at their customs in a from a dualistic perspective. In other words, speaking for Lakota people, most Lakota people look at their ways through dualistic eyes. There's just very few of us who look at the Lakota way through Lakota eyes.